Hey, so welcome to this video. I just arrived in Macedonia and this is the capital, Skopje. I think Skopje. And I plan to be here for the next couple of days and hopefully I'll take you on a journey of my exploration of the city for the first time I've ever been here. If that even makes sense. I will be trying to explore as much as possible because this is my first time here, and I'm looking forward to it.
What would you do if you ever reached the end of the world?
Never will there be an Alexander like you. Alexander the Great.
That's cool. I like that.
In the end, all that matters is what you've done.
Had a good night's sleep, first good night's sleep in a long time actually. Last night had a great meal with a fellow traveller from Japan who I actually met in Mostar, so we bumped into each other again. I mean, that's one of the nice things about travelling. Sometimes you bump into the same people. Despite travelling like, hundreds and hundreds of miles, you'll bump into these people. Today, going to explore the city. A little bit of. I've also got to do my laundry. I'm not going to do my laundry in there, but I'm going to explore the city as much as possible, and looking forward to it. Hey, so I'm just inside the city park, which is to the east of the city. Over there you can see the fortress, and behind the fortress is the Old Bazaar, which is where all the shops are. I'll show you that later. Up here, this is where pretty much the city ends. I mean, you have the fortress, you got the government buildings, you got the main square just over that way, or over that way, and behind me, hills, not much. There really is nothing over there. If we head this way towards the park, you get to the city zoo, which is a very small zoo, and a little bit past that, it's a lot of residential streets. Maybe sort of like 3/4 of a mile square of residential streets. It's a very small city. Reality is, you could probably blitz this city in a day. I've left it for 2 nights, so I'm basically here for 2 days or so. Obviously, there's always details to a city you will miss, but if you want to basically take in the entire city, what you need is really a day. But let's explore some more. Inside the city park is the Skopje Stadium. This was the scene of last night where Skopje beat AC Milan, and it made the people incredibly happy because for the next 3 hours after the match, people were revving their engines, honking their horns, and basically pouring around the streets with flags, all incredibly happy over a football game. But the stadium is here, right on the edge right in the park. Just here.
Bella palla in profondità, posizione regolare, Cutrone, il tiro e il gol del Milan. Patrick Cutrone porta in vantaggio il Milan dopo 12 minuti di gioco. Un gran lancio tracciante in verticale, saltata tutta la difesa, tutto il centrocampo dello Skendia. Cutrone poi chirurgicamente non fallisce, non tradisce, e il Milan, dopo 2 tiri concessi agli avversari, gran palla questa davvero, e c'è il gol da parte di Cutrone con il centrale avversario che va a vuoto. Bella l'apertura di Locatelli e Cutrone, insomma sembra di assistere a una partita degli allievi nazionali di qualche anno fa.
So last night, when I was having dinner, there were a lot of beggars in Skopje. I would place most of them to be Roma gypsies. Almost every couple of minutes, a beggar, be it a middle-aged woman in her 20s, and even young kids. I mean, an 8-year-old came up to the table, what I think was an 8-year-old, and just constantly said, please, 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 please. Reality was I didn't have any money on me at the time, so, but, yeah, I mean, what can you do? I don't know, there's these Roma gypsies. I think over here is a gypsy camp, just on the side of the river. This is just on the edge of the park, east of the city. And these are Roma gypsies over here. And there's a lot of them in Macedonia. That is the edge of the city. Nothing further east. We'll head back into the park. The tree's getting well watered. Challenge, trying to get past without getting wet. There it comes. Skopje Park is a nice park. It's a little bit worn out. You can tell it hasn't had that much care and attention, but it's a nice, peaceful park. Right behind me is the city zoo. I don't know if you can see the walls there. That's the walls of the city zoo. Very small zoo. I don't think it's worth the effort. I don't need to see animals in cages right now. I've seen enough little birds in cages recently. That was enough. But yeah, it's nice. I think that's the word. It's nice. But there are very pretty parts. Like for example, these wooden bridges. That's well done. What's nice about being next to the stadium, the city has basically built a lot of tennis courts next to the stadium, so it's not just football fans that get to benefit from the stadium facilities, while you have like football pitches that I guess members of the public can use while next to the stadium, maybe even training pitches for the players themselves, I'm sure. There are tennis courts as well. So it's just sort of, they take their sport fairly seriously. And now when I say tennis courts, I've counted about 20 of them. So there's a lot of sport around the sort of city park. Although, as you can see, it's pretty worn out in terms of, you know, the maintenance of the place. Clearly, there needs to be a bit of investment in this area, but it's got character. The tentacles of the globalist European Union are everywhere. Every country I've been to, the European Union has some sort of office. And who's financing that office? Of course, it's the European taxpayers. And this is how it starts. Propaganda by the European Union. They finance projects like this, it gets the people on side, and then they have them.
The former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia has the opportunity and the obligation to fulfill the criteria of Copenhagen and also to accept and to implement the suggestions made by the Council according to the conclusions of the session of the 17th of December, approved by the European Council 2 days later. It's not a matter of bilateral negotiation. The obstacle for the accession, for the beginning of the negotiation, especially between EU and the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia, it's not the so-called name issue. The problem is the acceptance of the European values and the fulfillment of the political criteria of Copenhagen.
I was hoping this was going to be the entrance. It doesn't seem that way. I got to walk all the way around. I've been walking around this, and it's almost it's close to midday again. So this hopefully gives you a bit of perspective on the last few minutes of walking around the stadium, and then basically over there to the far hills, and then coming back again, and you can see basically the residential bit over there to the east, and then it's the river. Then up here, the entrance to the fort, or the fortress. Let's go in. Like a lot of cities I visited in southeastern Europe, this one isn't really sort of ready for tourists. I mean, what seems like a police line cordoning off this sort of ruins. There's no one at the gate. There's no one sort of here to sort of, there's no signs illustrating you can do, this is what this is. There's no sort of education. It's a mighty fine fortress though, but not kitted out for tourists in my mind, which might be a good thing. How secure this is. Everything's kind of broken. As I climb the walls around this fortress, what is strikingly obvious is the fact that these walls are very new. Despite the fact that, certain bits of wood are broken, the walls are very new. You compare it to the original fortress, the stonework is ancient, whereas this is almost like a Disneyland type fortress. That is to the west. South. East. There you go, just been inside another mosque. The graffiti says it. That wasn't me. What I've noticed about southeastern Europe with mosques, they're a little bit more inviting than certainly London. I've tried going into a few mosques in London. You get very strange looks if you just decide to stroll in. I've been approached asking, what am I doing here? More than once. The East London Mosque, that happened to me. Also Finsbury Park Mosque, that happened to me. Try and find a woman that's able to walk through the front door of the mosque in London. That doesn't happen. In southeastern Europe, the women can walk through the front doors, so that is slightly progressive. It's Friday, so they're all gearing up for Friday prayer. They were sort of basically sort of putting the rugs out in front of the mosque by the time I came out, which basically tells me that there's going to be more people attending the mosque than the mosque can fit. So they're going to be praying in the gardens and maybe in the street. Let's see. I mean, this is literally 50 meters from the other mosque. There's a lot of mosques.
Nema.
How you doing? Well, there you have it. That's just a fraction of the Skopje Bazaar, basically the shopping area of Skopje. What you notice is they sell pretty much anything. They sell counterfeit stuff as well. They sell clothes, they sell food, they sell a little bit of everything. What I do notice as I'm walking around, and obviously these are all the locals, there's a lot more women covered up here than there was in Kosovo. I'd say less than 5% of the population of Kosovo was covered up, had any sort of headscarf here. Here, I've seen many women in the full-on burqa, completely covered their faces. Some in the saharis, some in just the veil, the hijab. Yeah, I mean, like literally, I just only have to turn around and there's a minaret. There's a lot of mosques here in Skopje, but what is strange is, look, there's the cross on the hill just behind me. So there's both cultures living side by side, but this is exactly what formed the breakup of the former Yugoslavia. It was a sort of the tensions between the different ethnicities, and the tensions mainly because of religion. Religion divides people and it brings people together, but it also divides. I hope things can change and religion can fade into the history books, but it's quite prolific here. Okay, so this seems to be sort of very much like most of Southeastern Europe. I tried just going to the National Gallery, it's closed. Tried going to a smaller museum, closed again. They all claim to be doing renovations, so it's one of these things I've noticed in Southeastern Europe. I've come too early. Nothing's ready for the tourists, but they're trying to gear up for tourism. I can tell that that's trying to happen. Trying to make everything pretty, but it's just sort of, it's slightly frustrating when you're trying to go places and it's closed.
Ancient Macedonia had not much to do with like Greece. They all have the same shape.
world.
Never will there be an Alexander like you. Alexander the Great.
So that was the Archaeological Museum of Macedonia. Very new museum, as you saw. And look at it from the outside. Very beautiful building. But everything's brand new here. I mean, look at the bridge. Everything is new. I mean, the statues on this bridge are a lot more tasteful than the ones that you saw in the main square. The ones in the main square looks like something. It looks like Las Vegas. I have said that before, but this is a city that's going to be very beautiful in a couple of hundred years once everything's aged a bit and been maintained. But it just right now it feels false. It's sort of creating a false history. But so what? Who cares? I think aesthetically it will be quite pleasing once it's all finished. This defines Skopje. You see all this? Basically building material to basically make everything look pretty. Everything is being built here or is new. I don't know. I'm struggling to find much of the old city. Yeah, you saw that. I'm the only one here. That's alright, I like big open spaces. It's, look, everything's brand new. Look at this, you see this building here? This is what all of the other buildings used to look like while they were being constructed in the recent couple of years. Everything is new here. Oh, there's some people, just saw some people. It's a beautiful building though. I'm sure it's quite monumental inside. And look, piped music. Although, I might have to censor that.
What happens this way?
The Bridge of Art. Lots of famous artistic figures of Macedonia's past. I have to admit, I know very few of them, but it's a beautiful bridge. Very, very new though. Built in 2012. Did it, or was it 2014? I just read that.
He got like 400,000 Brit soldiers in Dunkirk. So all my
Jesus, I didn't know that about him. City with the most statues. So that was Skopje. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a quick sort of like, and also give it a maybe comment below. Let me know any thoughts, any questions if you're thinking of going to Skopje, or if even if I've said something completely wrong during this video and you completely disagree. Just sort of give me some feedback, and you know, we can take it from there. But thanks for watching this far. Click subscribe if you haven't already clicked subscribe, and maybe watch another video. Thanks very much.
No.